We're live
Check.
for the very first time in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah, whatever you want to say, man.
So if there's a laugh track coming through on this podcast, know that it is authentic.
Because one friend is sitting in the room, you think it's a...
He's going to try his
fine.
hardest
It's
to be
fine.
quiet, but he might not be able to contain himself. He's already smiling, dude. He can't. We're 30 seconds in.
Did you bring any ideas?
No, but you know, some of the King fans out there might have brought some ideas.
Christ.
There was a few questions coming through on the old gram, so I figured we would just start with that,
Maybe
and
it'll kick up some leaves.
and we'll go from there.
All right.
Gotta scroll past these bull running videos on my phone. You know, typical day. Are you ready for this question, man?
Yeah, sure.
It's not even a question. The first
it's
question
kinda
is a
strange.
demand.
Well, that is a modern day question. Let me just, as I'm saying this, it's kind of becoming obvious that, and I think this may turn out to be true, I'll try to give the most intelligent answer I can, and I undoubtedly know that you have picked the stupidest questions you could possibly find. I already know because you're sitting here trying to hold back a laugh.
It's called quality entertainment, baby. We're here for the people.
But I'm going to try to give the best answer. Even if I think the question is thoughtless and it's a big deal. Let me just also elaborate on that, which just sounds like I like hearing myself talk, which I don't, but it's almost a metric if your question is thoughtless to how important it is. It's like that diehard fan that runs up to you and says you're their biggest fan in the world, but they don't know the lyrics to any of the songs.
They don't even know all the songs.
Right. So you want to just call them a liar, but I'll treat these. This is my one rule that I try to treat the shittiest, most thoughtless questions, and I'm not even talking about fan questions. I'm talking about journalism. I'm talking about anything. I'll try to treat it as if it's a child asking. That's my number one way to take things serious is because I never do any investigation. So say I'm sitting on there and I see something pop up and I really try to make an effort to answer questions. I imagine it's a 13-year-old kid. Sometimes it's a 40-year-old man, which is strange. But I do have a little bit of tolerance for 13-year-old kids, not so much for 40-year-old men, but my preconceived notion is always imagine this is a child that's really seeking something valuable. This is your chance. So that's my disclaimer before we begin.
I will say that, on the gram we did say if anyone wants to ask any questions, they can. It went better than the last time you said people could ask questions. And their questions were, come back to OKC.
Isn't it strange that when you're given the opportunity to ask someone that you at least are curious about, forget if you admire them or whatever, a question, you're a little bit younger, so it's not maybe the same for you, but when I was a child, if you could have told me I could have asked somebody that I admired a question, I would have never dreamed of asking them when they're coming back to Detroit.
Right.
But that's some type of post hoc maturity that I can't confirm I had, so that's purely speculation, and it's really ignorant, but it makes sense that you said your first question in 2019 is a demand, because that's all anyone does these days. So let's hear the demand.
You ready? I'm going to try to read it as verbatim as I can.
you can, just because if we're in a humorous mood, feel free to voice any type of errors.
I'm not going to give the Instagram names either. No fame to be had here.
I like that. It's like,
Unless you want to make a little donation to the Gunncast, then
Oh,
we'll give your
God.
Instagram a shout out. Link is on the anchor page, baby.
That's your hustle.
That's my Dairy Queen fund.
Okay, so let's hear the question.
All right.
Sorry, not the question.
Address the fact that by adding original Yavid tracks to the Suicide King record, y'all basically committed social suicide. The love of Suicide King is proof. While making a record based on social suicide, which, in my humble opinion, is genius and only furthers your intentions with Suicide King. It's been bugging me since January.
So this is not that painful. This is pretty good, although it is a demand, not a question. But that's fine because I'm not that sensitive. But it's kind of a cool question because to me, Suicide King is really slick and really tasteful and classy almost compared to the other records. The other records are very clunky and rough around the edges and a bit tasteless at moments, purposely. So, but Suicide King has like a real class to it.
Almost feels polished a little bit, like, a polished trophy sitting up on the mantle or something.
Right, which is why the cover looks like that, and it was supposed to be like that. And
well, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you came up with the idea for it, we were sitting at a nice ass hotel in Dublin, Ireland.
politicking
And we
a
said
few coffees
something.
or what it might have been.
We were talking about what should we name this third album, and it was something funny like, what if we just, what this person's saying is pretty true, just commit career social suicide.
Yeah, make a nice glossy, colorful cover album
Right.
with my face on it. It's
Yeah.
it's like well, you have to overlook the idea that no one has a sense of humor, but also that it's all by design and they seem to be confused as if, just to be a dickhead, David Bowie didn't reinvent himself every record or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're going to get that each time, basically. The next one will be something else. They kind of separate. It's really hard to separate those type of album, record, whatever you want to call it, from me personally. So, yeah, I think it's telling. It's an ode to how close-minded the genre is, which we just read an article, right, on Spotify saying that metal fans are the most loyal listeners,
Which just means they only listen to metal.
which could be interpreted as close-minded.
Right.
Not saying that's bad or good, but an observation would be, yeah, and I think we touched on this before when we, just doing the Yavid project, period, is social suicide in this realm.
Yeah, it's
And
viewed
we-
as not cool
Yeah.
or unauthentic or something.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's very weird because, well, there's a few points here. I'll try to break the question down. By design, that's what it is. That's why there's some, hip-hop loops and stuff like that. The reason why the Yavid tracks are on it was Josh's idea that he wanted to do, and it's like his opinion is just as good as mine. So I kind of don't care. I feel good about them when you have to kind of break down the process, right? I don't go to write the record. I go consistently and make good songs. When he says, I want to put this on there, what do you think? And I say, I'm on the fence. I could go either way. It doesn't matter what song he names because they are all good. So when we made the list and we thought it was a body of work, that's where I was at in Ireland when I was having the brainstorm. The think like, I know this is something. I just can't. I knew it was, going to be Suicide King or something like it. I just didn't know how to summarize the things, and that's what it was. It was a risk musically. It was a risk socially. It was and everything has to begin with a risk to me. If it doesn't start with a nervousness, it's not worth doing.
Right. You're
You
just
know?
sitting in your comfort zone, sitting in the pocket, if you will.
And we could be like every other band that has a formula and stuff, and that could be a shot against us as far as not having a formula, even though I think we do have a signature sound to a certain degree, but it's also, in a sense, it's, I don't really know how to explain it. It's a good sign when, like I told you, I showed you a shirt design the other day and said, "What do you think of this design?" You're like, "There's no way we should do this shirt." And
To
I was
you,
like,
that's
proof.
a
we
green
should do it.
flag,
Yeah,
not a red
same,
flag.
Same when we, when you go into Roadrunner and their hair just stands up at X, Y, and Z. These are all things that I like to run towards in life too.
Was there
making
anything?
a porno music video? And it's really weird because the public doesn't seem to interpret it that we do that. In the public's eye, we're like a gimmicky kind of, from what I understand anyway, kind of like a contrived gimmicky like shtick band. But the things that we do are riskier than what any other band that is, edgy, racy, risky, what rough around the whatever word you want to use. Whatever they're doing, whatever like fuck you kind of thing they're doing, we're doing that ad nauseum.
Yeah.
But kind of
You're not doing it to prove a point.
no.
You're just doing it because it's something that you
It's
want to do.
something really attractive, yeah. There's something really attractive about it, and then that goes right down to the song selection. I'm indifferent to most things in life, and I really try to, have these points of view, but there was a second part of the question that the dude said that I kind of didn't understand. It was maybe 2 or 3 sentences in.
Adding original Yavid tracks to the Suicide King record, you commit social suicide. And then it says in parentheses, the love for Suicide King is proof.
Yeah, I don't know if that's if he's saying the inverse as far as.
And
There
then
isn't.
making a record based on social suicide. So, do you think any of the songs on there are about social suicide in a way?
Well, there's a lot. It resonates with me because I have to work on not committing suicide pretty much every 2 hours. So it's obvious, and I don't really like. I say it, as kind of like offhanded because I think the only way to keep in the right headspace is just to be a little funny, little comedy or what it might be.
I've seen some people refer to like Bang Guns as almost like a tongue-in-cheek song, in a way. Because obviously you talk about guns a lot, and then they just come out with a chorus that's just banging guns.
Yeah,
It's almost like Zeus's. He's got that one song, Gun Sounds. Isn't that what it's called? Where he's just naming the guns off, dude.
Yeah, yeah. If you're meta about examining it,
Yeah.
it is kind of tongue in cheek. There's nothing in the song in there that is really tongue in cheek,
'Cause
unless
it's still
just the
authentically you.
cleverness of lyricism, which I do like tongue in cheek as far as clever goes, but tongue in cheek as far as I'm joking. Well, here's a pet peeve of mine. I don't like when people make tongue-in-cheek quips that assign them greater characteristics than they possess.
Sure. Because that's what it's.
And
Even though if the song is tongue in cheek, it's all stuff that you stand by, believe in, and live.
yes, and I often talk about, it verbatim, and so tongue in cheek, maybe there's a small bit, but its character, no. I think it's a real testament to the chorus, like, when I was a kid,
Yeah.
and now I grow older, I just like make more noise than a child.
Right.
Same thing though, stupid animal type of thing, which is where it's just a common theme in what we're doing. Like my belief system is animals. Like these are, you know what I mean? When people talk about the greater good and the higher morale and things like that, I think we talked about it last time
We
when we
did,
said
yeah.
proof that we aren't is proof is what we do. Look
And
at what we're doing.
That's some stuff you've been talking about, Allow Me to Cling, since 2009 in the songs. I feel like you've always been talking about the
Yeah.
dual nature of a human as an animal.
Yeah. It's strange. It's a strange thing because you're able to talk about it, so you should be capable of, some type of ascension. I'm not one of those weird fuckers that thinks everything's going to happen in their lifetime. Like, we could go find someone our age right now that believes the world's going to end. We'll have nuclear war. There's going to be like a rapture. Comet's going to hit us. We're going to colonize Mars. All within our lifetime.
Right.
They're so dumb. They're not able to look back to where people were saying this 60 years ago and are now dead. Like, for example, I have a handful of books that I just think are funny that predict these things, that the authors are now deceased of natural causes. And this was, I guess it's something to the tune of, all it says is the selfishness or the self-centeredness or the egotistical aspect of the human believes that they're always going to see a catastrophe in their time.
Or not even
You
a catastrophe,
believe
but
this
an advancement.
Right. Yeah. Millions of years, you think you're going to see it. This is a crazy ass time. I'm not bullshitting. I'm not blind to that, but you're really reaching if you think this is going to go down like this. But
it could, I guess, but it probably won't.
yeah, but the shitty part about it is no one ever has to pay for being wrong.
Right.
It's like there's no consequences, which I also believe we talked about last time when we talked about virtue signals and not being invested and having no risk and things like that, therefore not being virtuous, verbally virtuous. It's not even a possibility. So, yeah, with the record, it's always just starts with a curiosity, and I don't even know if nervous is the word for it, but when you're beginning in a place where you're anxious, nervous, fearful, whatever it may be, in my way of thinking, it's usually a good direction to go in.
Yeah.
And I try to use that as kind of a compass. My north is
People south.
well, anxiety or nervousness or we'll say uncomfortability or something.
Yeah, stepping
maybe.
out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
One thing I
new.
think that should be cleared up is that it's not like, as far as I'm aware, the 10 songs that are on Suicide King were all done and selected and whatever before you had dropped any Yavid songs, right? It's not like those were, these are some Yavid throwaways. Let me throw them on the Suicide King album.
Yeah, although I was handpicking them they were album songs to me. So when I go through and make songs and it doesn't sound like an artist quote, this is not going to be in my highlight reel of artistic quotes, but I decide if they're album songs or just songs I would just throw out just to put things out that
I mean, every artist does that.
Right. Well, Some, right?
Most.
Um,
Depends. Drake doesn't really probably do that. Well, maybe he does.
but not a lot of bands though, right?
Not a lot of
Groups
bands,
and
right.
things. You get an album every couple of years, which we don't have to exhaust that either. But and they were album songs, which is all that mattered to me. Was that they were high integrity
Yeah.
songs. The reason why I didn't necessarily envision them on there, at first, and I don't have any disagreements or anything. Me and Random are like two halves to a whole. We see things differently, but disagreeing is, I think, something we don't often do. But it was never a concern because I knew they were album quality. And when he brought it up, and I was thinking I hadn't originally thought of that, it was only more interesting. The reason why I kept the projects separately, though, and called them two different names was not to alienate the people to begin with. I wasn't going to try to say, this is this legacy and this is this brand and this is what we're doing here. You should also like this, which is why I named it something completely different. And you don't have to, it doesn't have to cross over. You don't have to like it or anything.
Right.
It's a whole separate thing.
It's
doesn't
also,
really bother
I
me.
mean, it's obviously you're the same person making both Yavid and King songs. So it's like, where does that line actually get crossed? Because like a song like Vendettas, that's a hip hop song. A song like
Yeah, that was another one. Yeah, it's hard to say because in my opinion, there's no line.
right,
In people's opinion, I think people are stupid though. This is something that I don't really like about people when they talk about art, especially people that aren't artists. It's like you don't really get a say. You're not. You don't get any commentary. This is not some customer feedback.
Right.
You're just fuck off. But the thing I don't like is when they. Okay, here's an example that we know and love because it happens to us. We make an EP and sell it for $200, and people buy it indefinitely. People get mad that it's $200, and they say, the Midwest Monsters EP made in 2012 is a 7-year-old album. Back 2012, they cared about music. It was all about the music, and now they're charging a few $100s for an EP. It was about the art, the love of the art. A CD is not art. It's a product. There is absolutely nothing about a CD that is art. They make it in a factory.
right,
What art do they make in factories? It's a product. Once it's a CD, there's nothing artistic about a CD. And it doesn't really make much sense. I don't think people understand it. I don't really spend too much time thinking about it, but sometimes when you read these questions off to me, not this one, but I just think, why does he think a CD's art? And you're right, I do care about the art. I'm valuing it higher than everyone else's art.
right. Well, and if someone's paying for it, I mean that's basic
They
supply and
see
demand.
the value as well.
Right,
So, I mean, it's mine. It's not yours. I could put the discs up like Nipsey Hussle for thousands. My CD's worth $1,000, Don't buy it. But if you want to, cool. It's my shit. Do whatever I want. Make it free. It's really annoying because we're doing it for the love of art. You don't starve your whole life away for the love of art.
right.
And it's coming from some guy that works at fucking Burger King or something.
I don't
It's like
think
you
there's
have no
any.
commentary, no room.
I
Have
think we've
no
talked about
pedestal.
this before, but I don't think any artist that you could possibly be aware of would not want to get paid to make their art.
you're not aware of an artist that is not also a businessman.
Right.
Not possible. And I don't even give a fuck who's not trying to get paid. I'm trying to be like Michelangelo, and he had millions of dollars. So you can get fucked, really. I mean, who do you want to be? Like Joe Schmo in the hardcore band
Right.
with 13 people in the crowd? Or do you want to, you know, sculpt the Pieta?
Which a lot of those people aren't even doing it for the love of art either. Or, I mean, you could say they're doing it for the clout, right? Oh, it's cool to be in a band, so I'm going to go be in a band.
That's worse to me.
Yeah.
I would rather do something for money.
Yeah.
If you, than social worth. Your money to me is more important than your opinion. And what you're doing your shit for is to be cool in your friends group, work on your identity, get you some characteristics, and be looked at to the outside world like you're a musician.
Yeah.
That's what you're after. All bullshit. You can't say what I'm after. I was doing this before you ever knew. It reminds me of the Tool song, Hooker with a Penis. He says, it's a conversation between him and Fred Durst when Fred Durst is talking about being the OG Tool stan. And he's like, you guys done sold it out, whatever. And he's like, I sold out long before you ever heard my name. You know what I mean? So it's not really about, I don't even understand what selling out means, but
that's a term that makes no sense.
We may have talked about it before, but my point is Michelangelo was loaded. There's absolutely no reason, especially when you believe in your heart of hearts that you create valuable things. They're missing that entirely. That I don't care what you think or believe. I believe I'm creating things that are valuable, more valuable than the engineer down the road that's putting in some WordPress website for a company right now. So what does he get? $500 an hour? I believe I'm more valuable than that because I created something that changes people's lives. And I don't think I'm cool, and I'm indifferent to the effects that it has, but it was important to me long before you ever knew who I was. All of this shit was important to me years before you even heard of me.
Right.
And I was also charging people's and taxing that ass long before you ever heard about it. And I'm going to continue to do so because that's the value that you assign to your shit. People are not passing around Van Goghs just done for the love of art. Picasso made 65,000 paintings. You think he could have gave one away? It wasn't likely that he did.
Right.
You know what I mean? He valued his shit. He said, yeah, I got 65,000 of them, but they're mine. These were 65,000 Picassos. They're not Rembrandt, Vermeer, all these other clowns. I'm Picasso, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the peanut gallery always, it's just chatter from a lower level of thinking, you know? Did that have anything to do with the question?
Not really, but fuck it.
Was there a third part to the question?
No, that was it. I was going to say on that same note, I've said it before, but you can go listen to Midwest Monsters for free on YouTube. In the same way that you could go on Google and type in, it's actually better than going on Google, typing in Pablo Picasso painting and looking at a picture of it on Google.
Right, you can hear the real version.
You can hear the
same
real thing.
one that you people pay hundreds of dollars for, which is, you know, and I really don't even like to even have this perspective. Truthfully, I don't have this perspective. I always tend to look at the optimistic side, you know, like, for example, wow, people value us this much.
Yeah.
That's what I look at. That's what I spend my days looking at.
Well, right.
I don't spend my days listening to low frequency chatter like this, but this is the point of what we're doing. So
something's only worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it, right? It's not like you were strong-arming people into paying $100 for the album.
Exactly.
You couldn't. You know what I mean? It's the internet.
Right. It's all just volunteer.
It's like, yeah, if you put it up for $1, people would buy it, but you know, people would buy cars for $1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you have to put a value on something.
Yeah. And who knows what value music has. people reaffirm to me every day how much more value it has than I thought.
Yeah, people come up to me at shows and say that the music saved their life.
Right, saved someone's life? I mean, my inbox on the internet is full of shit. I don't even check it. I can't. You know, people, I try to respond to like 20 a day, but then I just get exhausted and tired and feel like lower frequency
Right.
because it's so much.
Humans aren't made to take in that much
Right,
information
it's too
from other
much.
humans.
What human being meets 20 people a day?
Yeah.
That's not how people operate. I'm cool maybe with one a week meeting somebody. But forget it. The point was, that wasn't the point.
Next question.
Next one. Let's hear it.
I want to know what happened with that King 810 from Midwest Monsters.
What happened with that King 810 from Midwest Monsters? It's still there. You can go listen to it. There you go. What happened? These are the occasions where I want to know how old this individual is. Because, you know, say he's 21. And he's sitting at the bar drinking. And I walk in, take his car keys, take his drink,
Probably
tell him
taking
to
his
go
own weed.
outside, take his bitch, take him to his mom's, put him in her basement. Say his name's Steve. Steve's like, Yavid, what the fuck you doing? You're sunning me? And I'd say, what happened to that 15-year-old Steve? You lived in your mom's basement jacking off, not fucking no hose. You can't drink this alcohol. You can't drive these cars. Steve, you're down here for a few. Steve probably wouldn't be feeling that idea.
Just
But
being
Steve-
stuck in that
Yeah,
time.
8 years ago, living in the past, Steve, I got a formula for losers. And it is how often they cling to their past. And that is almost like divisible by how often they cite the same cling and how far away the cling was.
How recently the thing happened.
Yeah. So the formula is almost like you can tell the quality of someone's life. And this is a big deal to me. This is a real
Okay.
formula that I'm very proud of.
Do you have a name for it?
No,
The gun.
no.
playing
Stop trying to
efficiency?
sell it to someone for $200. It's I'm trying to think of it as a mathematical formula, but the way that it is how often you cling to the past. Over, that is to say, divided by how far away your cling is and how often the cling is cited. So if you're clinging to the past very often, but it's always 3 days ago, you're probably living a pretty good life.
That's some cool stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you got cool things happening every 3 days.
Right. If you're still living at age, most people, high school glory at age 17 and you're 34, you're
Right.
talking about when you're 17. That's okay once. But if you're talking about when you're 17 and you're 34 every week, you have 17 unaccounted years for
Right.
that you need to really rethink things. So, to me, that is my formula for misery. How often do you cling to the past as a fraction over how far away the incident and how often that incident is cited?
Right.
And this is so deep in my brain that I'll often say this, probably on the next cast. I will say, because this is important. We just call it clinging,
Clinging to the
when
past.
someone starts rattling off the old stories about
Hey,
back in the
remember
day.
when we were...
Yeah, stop clinging, man. especially when you know, and you know how to compete with your shitty friends. When you start clinging about something from 3 months ago, and I cling something 2 weeks ago, I one upped you.
Your number in that
I'm
equation
telling you,
is a better number.
yes, I'm living a little bit more valuable life than you. You need to get your shit together, kind of thing. Not, I didn't really like the term one up that I just used, but that's how you find value to me in life, is how often you cite the past, how far away that past is, and
How much you talk about it?
yeah,
So in reference to this question, you're saying if the king from Suicide King, if the David Gunn from 2019 was to still be talking, acting, doing the things that the David from 2014,
he would shoot this kid in the stomach, flat out. No, that was back when I didn't. That's the thing about that. You really don't want that person around you. That's what I don't think these people understand.
Right.
There was a reason why when you type our name in, and I feel this about a lot of times, and I've gotten control of myself and, you know, became an adult and really have a peaceful mind and a little bit of control. The person you're talking about wanting around you would never come around you, and if they did, it would only be to harm you in some capacity. That's
Right.
what I don't think these people understand, and especially when they call for that. And I'm not just posturing. You can type it in and figure out what
See
would have
what we're
happened
going
if you
down.
were around when you think you wanted to be around.
It's like the
You would have got finessed, and you would have got left.
you don't even have to type it in. You can just listen to the songs. I know you hate this song, but the best night of my life, the opening lines of that. The fact that you're ecstatic I'm here is insulting.
Yeah,
People
it's
aren't
really
listening.
strange.
They're not believing that shit you're talking.
Right. That's I feel that way every time someone approaches me. I feel like, were you not listening to the words? Why would you approach that person?
Right.
And they kind of brush it off because they approach every fucking bozo that fucking has a microphone. So they think, I'll approach this bozo. And, you know, I usually don't make them regret it. But sometimes I sit there thinking, you know, and a lot of people say, I'm a dickhead, I'm mean, I'm da-da-da-da-da. Don't have the reputation for being a nice person. I don't think I'm that mean. I think the internet generation is sensitive because they eat too much soy. But the point is, why would you ever think that the person that you know in these songs would be kind?
Right.
And that's not to say that I really make all jokes aside, I make a real effort to be kind every day.
Well, because, I mean, yeah, these people aren't coming up to, like, most of the time. They're not really thinking about it, I guess, right? They're not coming up on some negative,
Right. No, yeah, that too. But I get a lot of, you know, interpersonal, like he's not social, things like that. He's kind of like standoffish or whatever. And, you know.
Why would you think otherwise, though?
Why
know
would
what
you
I mean?
think otherwise? I have nothing to say to anyone here. That's another strange point that I was thinking after we had talked the last time, and we were talking about, we had said we were going to Pamplona to do the bull run, and people said, you know, they used the word douche, which I don't enjoy the word. I'm surprised they even use it because of its connotations, but they say, you know, I thought I really liked you and your band.
That was
Not
a douche
anymore.
thing to do.
Right. And I'm just thinking, if you think you like people because of the personal choices they make, you better not like anyone.
Right.
Because they're all, and this is not an exaggeration, rapists, child molesters, alcoholics, drug addicts, women abusers. You like the Beatles? Too bad. John Lennon beat both his wives. You like anyone. You can name anyone. The idea that you don't know what they're doing, it shouldn't be lost on you because things come out every day. Like if you ever laughed at a Bill Cosby joke, you're
Rapist.
a child molester. or a rapist, sorry. It doesn't make any sense to ever think that you would like me. Listen to one song.
They're
Why
all
would
about
you like this person?
killing and hurting people.
You're talking about the morale of running with a bull. I'm talking about cutting someone in half. What are you even concerned about? Do you think I care? You know what I mean? And it's not to be cool, but I'm just so baffled. I don't know where they get these notions. And again, this is a real thought experiment that we're doing in the conversation, which is kind of the point. This is not really where my head rests. I looked more optimistically, more positively. I spend most of the days looking in a more optimistic direction. I don't really think on these things a lot. I don't brood over them or anything. Just when certain things like this come up, you have to step outside of yourself and think objectively. If I was, a fan of someone like this, I mean, I don't like anyone that I like then.
Right. As an
I was a
individual.
kid, I like Manson. He's a drug addict, womanizing, da-da-da-da-da. I'm not any of those things. Why would you ever think that you were like me? Trent Reznor was a drug addict, da-da-da-da-da. I've never even done a drug. In this case, I just shouldn't like anyone.
Right.
I said, okay, Freddie Mercury, you can't like Queen. He's gay. I don't like guys. What do you, or forget about if you ever find out who voted for who.
So you're essentially saying you really just have to be able to separate the art from the artist, right?
Why would you ever think that you have any clue about the artist?
Right.
My question is, I really loved you and your band. You don't even know me.
Right. They just know, like...
Anything that we've sold is all you know.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because you clearly were not listening. What are you saying?
It's like the idea. They like the idea of you, the idea that they've spun to fit their own sort of agenda or thought process.
Yeah, I'm just confused because there's no evidence to kind of back that up. So that's the long way to answer that guy's question, is what happened to that dude? Trust me, you ain't going to have a good time with that dude.
Just to give some perspective from my point of view.
I was locked
I'm
up
the
first
dude.
off. So if you would have been around me, that would have meant you would have been locked up. And that would have meant I would have beat the fuck out of you just to be cool in front of everyone. Just to make sure that you were that guy that got fucked up because he wanted to talk to me at the lunch table or something.
That was even at the lunch table. Before Midwest Monsters.
I'm talking about the jail table.
Oh, okay.
You know, that's what you would have got.
Right.
If you had anything of value, I was also taking that. Like, this is the person that you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Every time that I was around you, because we didn't really hang out back then, I would come around every so often, but every time I was around you, something crazy happened.
Right.
Not like, oh, that was crazy that Yavid did that. No, like, oh, fuck. Like,
right.
It's
Like,
going
my
down.
life's about to change, and it's not going to be changing for the good.
It was I could die. It was, I have to be on high awareness at all times.
Yeah, which is why, like, do people know that you're Gene's cousin?
Some might.
Okay, so this is
There's
Gene's
the
cousin.
big reveal.
So yeah. So Gene's cousin, yeah, and he's younger than me and Gene. And
A couple years.
He is, yeah, and his family is obviously Gene's family. But they didn't want you around when you were a kid.
Yeah.
That's what I don't like to say things like this because it seems like we're trying to be cool. Like, even though it's the most uncool thing, there's nothing cool about it. No one likes us because of it. It doesn't do anything productive, constructive. It doesn't pay your bills. It doesn't make you a role model. There's no positivity. Everyone in this city knows that we did nothing positive for the first half of our whole lives. Career, you wish. That was a few years. You wish it was that easy.
Right.
And it's just real, it gives me real pause when people say things, especially people that didn't even know us. Like, What happened to that? Well, that dude, a bunch of people wrote a bunch of things about that dude, and you can go check them out.
On to the next one.
Sir.